Lewis, hailing from East St. Louis, he said, you have a clean slate. How would you perfectly align college football conferences? Now, I got to assume this means I don't have to operate under any constraints. Lewis basically just named me commissioner. I have full autonomy. I don't have to answer to any TV networks. I don't have to worry about budgeting or bottom lines. I don't have to worry about any of that. Lewis, right? Say nothing if you agree. He said nothing. He agrees. So you're telling me I just totally get my way and I can construct these conferences any way I want to. Well, here's what I would do. There would be big changes. I would value regionality because I think that's what this sport is built on. And I know, if you've just come along lately to college football, you're watching USC play a conference game in Piscataway, New Jersey. Friends, that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to work that way. It just does work that way right now. But teams in Seattle, Washington, and Columbus, Ohio, in a perfect world, or even in a just world, are not playing in the same conference. So I would value regionality. I'd value tradition. I'd value rivalries. I'm not going to break any of those up. In fact, we'll resurrect many of them. But here's the other thing I would do. I'm all on board with a 9-game conference schedule, and I'm on board with that happening for everyone. But I'm only on board with that if we limit the number of teams per conference. Because right now the SEC's got 16. The Big Ten's got 18. So I don't really care. You could play 8 games, 9 games, 10 games. Not everyone's going to play everyone. So what I would love to do in reconstructing and reconfiguring conferences in this sport, I'd love to cap the total amount of teams you can have in a conference. And I'd love that number to be 10. Because if I have no more than 10 teams in a league, and you're playing 9 conference games, that means everybody plays everybody. Therefore, conference play is true round-robin conference play every year. And so I would have that as the conference slate, and then I'd make you play one power opponent out of conference so that I could keep rivalries intact, which you're about to see. I'm splitting up a lot of teams. So if I could do that, and I didn't get any pushback, which according to the question I'm not going to get, we'd be off to the races. Here's how I'd make it look. Let me walk you through this. And I know if you're listening on podcast, you don't have the visual medium, but just follow me here. Think about the SEC right now. The SEC has 16 teams in it. The most recent realignment added Texas and Oklahoma. Well, they're gone. In my SEC, Texas and OU are no longer in. Missouri is no longer in. I'm taking Arkansas out. I'm taking Texas A&M out. And what we're left with is Bama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Just a neat, tidy SEC. I think we counted the miles. The longest road trip here is either going to be LSU, South Carolina, or maybe like Kentucky, LSU, Kentucky, Florida, something like that. So that is my 10-team SEC, which brings us to the Big Ten. The Big Ten I had to do even more shaving down on because the Big Ten has 18 teams currently. There's a funny thing we're going to do here with one exception. If you've got a number, then I want that to correspond with how many teams are in the league. Again, with one exception I'll mention. So the Big Ten, I'm going from 18 teams down to 10 teams. Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan. Michigan State, Minnesota, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, and Wisconsin. You'll notice no West Coast teams here. Oregon's gone, Washington's gone, both the Southern Cal teams are gone. There's no Northwestern. There will be controversy over what I'm doing with Northwestern, but I think it's in the best overall interest of the sport, and it's not like we're hanging them out to dry. In fact, we are freeing them to do whatever they want to do. You can go to class just as surely as you can schedule anyone you want to. So I'm going to make Notre Dame an independent, or Notre Dame will be one too. Northwestern will be an independent. I'll get to that in a second. It kind of comes down to a numbers game. If you're trying to make things nice and tidy and 10 teams per most leagues, guess what? The Big East is back. And that's not the only conference that's back. But I would bring back the Big East. And that's what it would look like. A lot of what the Big East used to be, I need to add Boston College, again, because it's a numbers thing. But Cincy and Louisville, Pitt, Rutgers, Syracuse, UConn, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, you'll notice UCF is in there. I've got to put UCF somewhere. And it was either going to be the ACC or the Big East. And it's not like they have traditional ties to either one of them. But they're not going to be in the Big 12 because they're in Orlando, Florida. And the Big 12's about to cease to exist in a matter of moments. So I put UCF in here. We're just going to have to accept that. Small prices to pay. Small prices to pay. I have an even bigger announcement than the Big East returning. I think we should have drumrolled this. The Southwest Conference was one of the wonders of the world when it existed. You had the pyramids, you had Niagara Falls, but the Southwest Conference was not far behind. And it died unjustly in 1996. And on the 30-year anniversary of the Southwest Conference's tragic death, I would just like to bring the entire Southwest Conference back. I don't need new logos either. The old artwork is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. Texas and Texas Tech and SMU and Texas A&M, they're all back. You'll also notice that in a gesture of probably good faith that's not even deserved, I have brought Rice into the equation. We have room for food at the table in the Southwest Conference. Now, I did write down Rice will enter the Southwest Conference as sort of a probationary period. And at that point, ball's in Rice's court to see what they do with it. But I made room for Rice, and I do need to add one team. I need to add Tulane because I think Tulane's ready. And I think Tulane, geographically, it makes sense. I wanted a spot for them in one of these conferences. And so we're going to put Tulane in the Southwest Conference. Arkansas's in there because Arkansas used to be in there. No, it's a lot of Texas schools in Arkansas. And Lou Holtz was not a fan of that back in the day. I get it. But look, I value tradition and I value history. And outside of Tulane, that's what the Southwest Conference used to look like. And I'm just excited to see what Rhett Lashley and the crew do in an era where you can legally do what used to have an entire 30 for 30 made about you. So the Southwest Conference will be my appointment viewing every Saturday. Quick 5-second timeout. Check and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It keeps it free. We love you. All right, back to the show. Big 8 is also back. The Big 12 is an abomination. The Big 8 is a beautiful, beautiful creation that never should have gone anywhere. Old logo again, works perfectly. Now I need to make some modifications with the Big 8. I am going to put Oklahoma and Oklahoma State here. Nebraska's there, Missouri, Kansas State and Kansas, Iowa State, Colorado. They were all old school members of the Big 8. I am taking both schools from Utah and I am putting them in the Big 8. And I know if you're doing the math out there, that means we have 10 teams in this league. This is the one concession. This is the one conference that I need to keep the name of for legacy purpose, plural of purpose. But the number in the name of the league will not correspond with the overall number of teams. Again, not perfect, but small price to pay. I can't call it the Big 10. We already have a Big 10. You could call it the Big 8 Plus if you want to, which I think's lame. So I'm going to call it the Big 8 because I like calling something the Big 8 because it used to be called the Big 8. So we have sort of grandfathered the name of the league in here. But I'm putting Brigham Young and Utah both in this league. Otherwise, it's kind of the way it used to look. Now, there was a version of this we did, Jesse, like 2 years ago where I had Oklahoma in the Southwest Conference. We got a lot of pushback on that because Oklahoma was a Big 8 member. They weren't in the Southwest Conference. And I pushed back a little bit, but then I thought, you know what? You guys are making more sense than me. So let's put Oklahoma where they belong in the Big 8. There is a mandate coming from my league office, and that is Oklahoma and Texas are now in different conferences. You will be mandated to play each other every year. So the Red River Shootout, not the rivalry, the Red River Shootout will go on. We'll play it at the Cotton Bowl, the real one, from now until the Lord returns. And it will kick off at 11 a.m. East. Well, you know what? I'm not going to mandate that. I'll give you a little flexibility on kickoff time. I want it to be 11 a.m. But I'll give you a little flexibility on that. But Oklahoma's out of the conference Texas is in. You've got to play each other every year. So we're not doing away with any rivalries. But you'll notice we got Bedlam back as a conference game, no less. We continue. Resurrections everywhere tonight. The Pac-10 is back. Josh, don't you mean the Pac-12? No. No, I don't mean the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 as an idea failed. The Pac-12 as a conference failed. Really, Larry Scott failed. The Pac-12 would have been fine. The Pac-10 was fine. The Pac-10, when I was growing up, even though I lived basically in another world, was the easiest conference to remember when you were trying to memorize your conferences, because you knew that you had the 2 Washington teams, you have the 2 Oregon teams, you have the 2 Bay Area teams, you have the 2 Southern California teams, and you have the 2 Arizona teams. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Boom. And that is exactly what the Pac-10 is going to be here. I want to say for a third time, I don't need any new artwork. I don't need any new focus grouping or rebranding. We're going old school with this. Why? Because nothing was messed up about it to begin with other than failed leadership. So as the future commissioner of this sport, I will see fit that people who actually know how to run a conference are enjoying spots in the league office this time around, but the Pac-10 is back. The ACC is a little interesting. So the ACC, I had to make some decisions. I could have put Miami in the Big East. I could have put Boston College in the ACC. I made some minor moves, number one, because I like Miami in the ACC more. I like Florida State in the ACC more. I wanted to keep that rivalry together, but also geographically, I wanted as much regionality as possible. Now, yeah, I got Maryland here, but that's the northernmost team I have. And so if I put Boston College in there, it's just all up and down the eastern seaboard. I didn't really want that. So I got Clemson and Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Maryland, Miami, NC State, North Carolina, Virginia, and Wake Forest. No big surprises there. And then we come to the independents. I am not forcing Notre Dame to join a conference. If they want to, we can talk. Okay, I can probably kick someone out, or I could negotiate a trade. But I'm going to give Notre Dame their independence. As I said, we had a little bit of a math problem, so I have 2 more independents. One of them is Northwestern. The other is Vanderbilt, as I sit 2 miles down the road from the university. This will get way more vitriol than it should because it's purely hypothetical, but when we did this last time, any team who was taken out of a conference and made independent, there were torches and pitchforks in the comments and the replies. It's a math situation. So I have to have 3 independents. One of them's Notre Dame, and that's obvious. And then I just went academics on it. I went Northwestern, and I went Vanderbilt, frankly, because I think they have the most in common. So that doesn't mean you're locked out of anything. That just means you both have to schedule the way Notre Dame schedules every year. And the good news is I'm forcing every one of these teams to play one power out-of-conference opponent on top of their conference schedule, which means there's no shortage of opponents out there that want to play you. So there you go. Especially if I can pull the media rights, Jesse, if I can pull that off, if I can reconfigure all the conferences, which I was told I can do because there's no limit on this, and then I get to pool the media rights where every one of these leagues is playing on every network. Ohio State's not, contractually bound to play noon kickoffs from now until eternity. They may be able to, play Penn State in prime time every now and then. That would be a great thing. So, regions and rivalries, traditions, these are not dirty concepts. We still believe in them around here.